If you were listening a fortnight ago, you'll know that Robbins had a brush with doing jury service. He was asked to do jury duty, got out of it incredibly because he was able to prove that it would adversely affect his income as a comedian.
And the morale of the country at large.
And the morale of the country at large. God, imagine if Britain was at war and you were one of the comics who was sent out to entertain the troops.
Well, that sort of happens now, doesn't it?
It does, but I mean, you and I haven't been booked for those gigs, John, for obvious reasons.
No, and any comics that try to get a round of applause for mentioning it on stage should also, by law, have to mention how much they got paid.
Yes, well, this is the sort of thing that we're going to encapsulate in our new feature, Judge Robbins.
And Dave has made a jingle.
No, well...
We have made a jingle in, I believe... It's very
record
much
time.
It's like the Take Off a Taste jingle, and There Is a Light That Never Goes Out. It was actually made in less time than it takes to say.
Yeah.
It was live recorded. This is an opening draft. I don't want you to judge Dave's skills based on this. He's currently pressing 8 different buttons at once, like a mad octopus.
It's like being produced by Fatboy Slim in the remix. He's just
It'll sound better next week.
Right,
more like Slim Boy Slim. Because Dave's body is excellent.
Yeah.
I'd like to...
And he shows it off with his tight T-shirts.
Don't take this the wrong way. I would like to see Dave and Russell Howard wrestle each other in oil, but naked from the top up.
Yes.
The waist up.
I just like
naked
to
heads.
have a curry and watch a film with Dave on the sofa, both of us in our pants. That is what I would love. Because he wears these. He comes in sometimes in the summer wearing a vest, and it's.
I've never worn a vest.
Just to show off his guns. Lovely stuff. But anyway, we're straying away from the topic. Basically, we have a new feature, Judge Robbins, and we have a brand new first draft of the jingle. So, Dave, take it away. This court is now keeping its session. All rise for Judge Robbins.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Order, order, order. And that's, wow.
There we go.
That music.
And that's basically all we've got at the minute.
Yeah, that's all we need.
We've got the name, we've got the jingle. What we need from you folks sent into saturday@radiox.co.uk with the subject line, Judge Robbins, are your disputes you need settling or your crimes that have been committed against you for sentencing? The clerk of the court, Mr. Elis Owain James, will read out the cases on a week-by-week basis, and I, Judge Robbins, will pass judgment on you in a mad sort of weird fantasy I have.
He will pass judgment in a role that John was born for, I think. It's amazing that John hasn't volunteered to become a magistrate. I can't believe you didn't do a law degree, because you've got magistrate written all over you.
You know how people get honorary degrees?
Yes.
Which, I think we should be aligned for. Even if it's just from a sort of a basic poly. But I think it's amazing I haven't been given an honorary passing of the bar. They should just say, from your
QC Robbins.
for your commitment to justice and order, you are now a barrister/judge.
I think it's extraordinary that you're not in the House of Lords, John.
A peerage.
Somebody give John a peerage, please.
I would love a peerage. I'd hang out with Melvin Bragg at the bar.
You'd bring the average age down by about 30 years.
And me and Baroness Trumpington would pass sly, wry and witty notes to each other.
Right, okay. So anyway, if you have some sort of dispute or if somebody has wronged you and you'd like to know the sentence that they deserve, email us on saturday@radiox.co.uk and John will do that live on air.
Yeah, so it's sentencing and disputes. I will rule in favour of the plaintiff or of the plaintiff, and there I will also give out my sentencing. I mean, keep them light.
Yes.
I mean, sort of minor crime, highway code infringements, petty theft.
I think John has a particular flair for the highway code.
Yes.
So, so bad driving, I think that's something that really gets John's goat.
But a sort of general relationship issues, housemate issues, that kind of thing.
If you want an ex-girlfriend sent to prison, John will tell you how long for.
Basically, we've rebadged textual healing.
X. Elis James and John Robbins. Radio X.
It's time for Judge Robbins.
This court is now keeping its session. All rise for Judge Robbins.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Order, order, order.
According to my screen, this jingle goes on for 4 minutes, 17 seconds. Anyway, it is a packed day in court. 3 cases for Judge Robbins, so I'll start with case number 1. It's the case of Fox versus flatmate. I'm going to read the plaintiff's statement. She's bringing the case. Having recently returned from holiday in Las Vegas late that morning in dire need of a sleep and a shower, I returned home early that afternoon. But as I was about to step into the shower, not an actual shower, a screened-off section at the end of the bathtub, I found a huge spider lying in wait, C attached, although this picture doesn't do it justice as I struggled to get much closer for fear of the camera flash angering it. Suffering from a mild case of arachnophobia, the statement goes on. Little ones are fine, anything bigger than a sixpence is terrifying. I immediately leapt back, heart racing and yelling several incomprehensible shrieks into the air. After a few minutes' quiet reflection and with the best weighty realisation that I would have to overcome my fears to deal with this hairy monstrosity, I gathered up the nerve to use the glasses and piece of paper trick. That glass has since been incinerated. Carefully scooped the spider out the bath and hurled it out at the bottom of the garden. A run-of-the-mill, commonplace incident, I hear you cry. But upon sharing news of this unwelcome guest to my housemate and brother, his eyes started shifting around the room and his breath quickened. It quickly transpired that he had seen this abomination in the morning before leaving for work and neglected to have a shower to avoid facing his fears and leave the heavy-duty removal work for my hungover, jet-lagged self. So, John, I think you need to pass sentence on the flatmate. The flatmate didn't have a shower before going to work because he was so scared of the spider, leaving his jet-lagged, hungover flatmate to cope with it despite being frightened of spiders.
Order! 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 My gavel is not working! Order! Hey ye! Hey ye! Hey ye! Order!
You're a judge, not a town crier.
Order!
Judges don't do this.
I have... Quiet silence in my court!
Don't ever use the gavel, John.
I have... Order! Order! Remove all northerners from my court! Wow. Hear ye. I have heard the case, and I will now sum up. In my youth, I remember this country was a place where people could spend time with beasts. Man and beast would walk nude through the fields. I remember as a child walking nude with my tame badger Toby, and no one would bat an eyelid. But now, in these modern times, it would seem people are unable to walk nude with beasts. And for this, I hold to blame Channel 5. Channel 5, who turned nudity into pornography with their Shannon Doherty-based filth. However, in this case, I believe the accused has acted unjustly. If one sees a spider, you scream until the nearest person that is not afraid of spiders is on scene to remove it. I hereby sentence flatmate to 1 night in the bath with an open window where the spiders may come and wreak their sweet vengeance. Nude! Order! Order!
So the court fines for the plaintiff.
The court fines for the plaintiff.
So
order, hear ye.
Richard Fox is going to be very, very pleased as his flatmate has been sentenced to a night in the bath, naked, with a spider that's coming in through the window. Okay? Cool. Case number 2.
Keep it quick.
Is Ginevra versus Anon. I have an issue with an ex-girlfriend who, by the way, is the son of a coin. After our split back in February, I took half the flat's contents, and these contents was a Starbucks mug, which after all these months, she wants back. After her infidelity, I'm not sure I should give her said mug back. Is Judge Robbins... I'd like Judge Robbins to pass judgment on the issue.
Order, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Judge Robbins has heard the case. Due to the infidelity, the Starbucks mug will be returned. However, Greg will write in permanent marker on the Starbucks mug, in the style of a Starbucks barista, the words cheat. That is my judgment. Hear ye. Order, order.
Court finds for the plaintiff. Right, well, there'll be more Judge Robbins next week. If you have a case that you'd like Robbins to pass sentence on, do email us on saturday@radiox.co.uk. It has to be a dispute of some sort. We'll read out the plaintiff statement and a defendant statement if you want to furnish us with that as well. And then John obviously will he'll sentence you one way or another. It's up to him. John is the only QC in the Radio X studio. He's the only person who can do this. So, like I said, do email us on saturday@radiox.co.uk.
Make sure Judge Robbins is in the email header, just to make it easy for us to find.
Yes, thank you. Nice one, Dave.
Anything.
You're on top form today.
Ellis James and John Robbins. Radio X.
It's time for a new feature. It's a feature John's been preparing for his whole life. It's time for Judge Robbins.
This court is now keeping its session. All rise for Judge Robbins.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Order, order, order.
I have a few cases for you this week, Your Honour. Case number 1, the case of Nikki versus boyfriend Barry. I'm just going to read the plaintiff's statement. I need your help to finally settle a long-running and embittered argument that is raging between myself and my boyfriend. Approximately 18 months ago, we decided to go for some relaxing after-works drinks in our locale combined with dinner. I suggested an innocuous meal of quiche and salad. Sounds good, he replied. What else shall we have with it? After some probing, it transpired that my boyfriend is adamant that quiche is a delicious addition to a meal, but not worthy of being the main attraction. The defendant's statement, this is his reply, no one of sound mind would, for example... Oh, no, sorry, I'm reading the wrong bit. For instance, no one of sound mind would, for example, order fish, chips and a side order of quiche. That is what the plaintiff's arguing. His counter, however, is that in a buffet scenario, it's one of many components that make up a whole meal with appropriate ratios of coleslaw, for instance. So, Your Honour, how do you find this case?
Order! Order! Hear ye! Hear ye! Order! I will have silence in my court! For many years I have quandered over the issue of quiche, and I'm glad to see it has now been raised in the civil criminal courts. Order! Order! As a child, I would often sneak down to Mrs. Tibbitt's pantry, and I would fill my plate with all the pleasantries there. Quiche, coleslaw, potato salad, and as I wandered nude back to my room and the chill evening breeze dried my particulars from bath time, I would enjoy such treats. But I have to say, this court finds that the idea of eating solitary quiche is quite distasteful. How could a quiche not be accompanied by other sweet mayonnaise-based treats? It is quite beyond me. I find for the defendant, Nikki's boyfriend.
My friend Barry.
Barry is upholding all that is good and honest and true and nude in this fair country. I find for Barry, on the rare occasion a quiche can form the main part of a meal, it must feature large lumps of tender salmon and must be accompanied by another starch-based product. This court finds for the defendant. Hear order! Hear ye! I will not have this behaviour in my court.
Sorry, Nikki. I'm afraid Judge Robbins finds in favour of the defendant. Case number 2 for today. The strange case of Smith versus Robbins. I'm just going to read plaintiff.
Order! What?
Yeah.
What do you say, clerk of the court?
I'm just going to read Plaintiff Smith's...
You be very careful. I will find you in contempt of Robbins' court.
Well, I'm about to read the plaintiff's statement. I'm a practising solicitor of England and Wales, admitted to the role of solicitors and regulated by the Solicitors Regulatory Authority. The law of England practically flows through my veins, and there is no thrill for me quite like the sight of justice being done. However, my joy turned to dismay when I detected a legal error in the jingle.
Hear ye, hear ye. I can let pass it, I suppose. Even judges are allowed to want to be town criers if they fancy, and it doesn't get in the way of judging. But what's that immediately afterwards? The sound of a gavel. Dear, oh dear, he goes on. Gavels have in fact never been used by any judge in an English court. This is a common misconception, no doubt brought upon by too many programmes and films from America, where they have been in use for a couple of centuries. The pedantic, read accurate Twitter feed, Inappropriate Gavels is a useful catalogue of similar slip-ups. I trust this error can be acknowledged and perhaps corrected, depending on how much John can stand being reminded of this minor but definite wrongness on a weekly basis from here on in. Yours, Dan Smith, MA, open brackets, Oxon, BCL. Would you like to respond to that statement?
Order! 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 I will not have this in my court. What's the name of the plaintiff? Clerk of the court?
Mr. Dan Smith.
Mr. Dan Smith. Well, Mr. Dan Smith, am I not to bring you up on a charge of wasting the Crown's time? Because, Mr. Dan Smith, if you are a solicitor, a bottom feeder, as you say, then I suggest that it is not just the law of this country that flows through your veins. If I know anything about solicitors... Order! 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 Now, Mr. Dan Smith, solicitor. Error. The definition of error. I suggest you take a dictionary out of your library. An error is the state or condition of being wrong in conduct or judgment. Well, Mr. Dan Smith, it may please you to know that this court is not under the judiciary of Her Majesty's Courts of Justice of England and Wales, and therefore is not bound by their traditions and other things. This court is the Court of Robins. And I, as judge and supreme king of the court, will make up whatever rules I so please. I therefore find in favour of Robins and sentence Dan Smith, solicitor, to a lifetime of penance and penury in the colony of Old London Town. Here, order, order.
Thank you, Judge Robbins. You don't get that on Absolute, do you? Anyway,
I find the clerk in contempt of court for inappropriate legal language.
Anyway, there'll be more Judge Robbins next.
I sentence him to a morning with Dan O'Connell. Order, order.
Elis James and John Robbins. Radio X.
Before Winner plays on, folks, a correction to make. Judge Robbins has now left the building, and he was in such a state at having his professionalism called into question. He accidentally sentenced the clerk of the court to a morning with Dan O'Connell for using the word absolute in court. Of course, the judge, and I wouldn't say this to him because he has a feisty temper, he meant to say Christian O'Connell, not Dan O'Connell, because of course a breakfast with Dan O'Connell would be an absolute treat, because I know for a fact he's a member of several exclusive Soho spas and clubs.
Yeah, the thing with Judge Robbins, he's getting on a bit.
You
could say he's irrelevant.
He's as quick as a whip.
He is,
but in moments of anger, he can confuse Dan O'Connell with Christian O'Connell, which, if you've met the two, would never happen. Could chalk and cheese those two?
Yeah, ketchup and brown sauce.
Well, no, they're sort of quite similar, aren't they? They're sort of two very similar types of condiments.
Chips and fags.
Yes, they are, but a lovely combination.
Now it's time for Judge Robbins. This court is now keeping its session. All rise for Judge Robbins.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Order, order, order.
It's a role he's been practicing for his whole life, passing judgment on others. I've never met a man so intrinsically suited to doing this. I don't know why he didn't do a law degree at Oxford, why he wasted his time with medieval English at Oxford Brookes, but that's fine. We'll discuss that in another link. Anyway, we've had lots of these cases for Judge Robbins to preside over. So I'll start with this is just a quick one. As clerk of the court, Plaintiff Will is bringing a case against his flatmate. Hello, Judge Robbins. My housemate leaves his washing in the washing machine for days on end. This leaves him smelling damp and musky, not nice. I hereby ask that you find a suitable punishment for this act of atrocity. Yours in truth and justice, Will.
Order! Order! I will have order in this... Order! Order! Silence! Order!
Easy on the gavel, Jim.
Order! I will have you removed from this court, Vin!
Are you tripping?
Order! Right. In the case of Will versus housemate, I am reminded of a time in my youth when Nanny was washing my clothes and I was forced, yea, nay, demanded to parade nude around the parlour and the pantry, whilst pleasant memories come from the feeling of breeze amongst my hither and thithers. I must say that clean clothing is important for the safe and decent running of society. Not all can run round nude as I did through the pantry with Nanny. Was it not T.S. Eliot that said, "In my beginning is my end. In succession, houses rise and fall, crumble, are extended, are removed, destroyed, restored, or in their place is an open field." Was it not? Was it not, I say? So, Will, I find for you in this case. But as to punishment, I must say, as T.S. Eliot wrote, "In my beginning is my end." For your flatmate has unknowingly brought around his own punishment. I know from many friends of mine lower down in the Justices League that the smell of a musky clothing will keep all female attention from your door. A friend of mine who once left clothes in the washer remained loveless for 2 decades and was forced to find solace in the works of Ruskin. So, the court finds in favour of Will. Order!
Thank you. As a clerk of the court, I'll make note of that. We're moving on to the next case. Plaintiff James is bringing a case against his local gym. I've got a long statement from James to read out. James says, "I'm a bald man by choice and swimming hats are compulsory in the pool at my local gym. I don't own a hat as it would be redundant on my hairless head. The point of the hat is to stop hairs blocking the pool's filters. Recently I was asked to wear a hat and was even given a hat from Lost and Found, which Plaintiff James finds disgusting. And out of principle, he said no. He goes on, I have a beard. I'm not being asked to wear a face mask. I'm not allowed in the pool until I start to wear a hat. I know Judge Robbins is a stickler for rules and procedures, but I think I'd risk looking foolish peeling off a hat from a bald head. Judge Robbins, how do you find the case?"
Order. Order in my court. James, you bring a very interesting case to the court's attention. This seems to me an example of health and safety NIMBYism. Yes, NIMBYism, I say. James, I am also a hairless man from top to bottom, save for the odd crevice and niche of my own fair body. And though that brings even greater pleasure whenst feeling the breeze on your hither and thithers, I can understand the frustration, the anger of being forced to wear a swimming cap when none is needed. So, James, I have for you the perfect solution. Firstly, finding on your side in the matter of James versus local swimming pool, I suggest to you this, James. Take a brand new swimming cap and go to your local barber shop. Ask for them to sell you, threepence should suffice, a bag full of human hair. Then simply glue the hair to the swimming cap. Place it on your head, giving you the impression of a full and matted head of manly hair. On approaching the swimming pool, when they ask you to place a swimming cap upon the hair on your head, turn to them with a glint in your eye and say, "But dear sir, I'm already wearing one," before unturning the front of the cap and jumping into the pool in a bombing motion. The court finds in favour of James. Order.
Thank you very much, Judge Robbins. I've got it from the horse's mouth that Judge Robbins is now off for a drink at his local gentleman's club, his local members' club. There'll be more from Judge Robbins next week. Anyway, you're listening to Elis James and John Robbins on Radio X, and now it's time for...
This court is now keeping its session. All rise for Judge Robbins.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Order, order, order.
That's right, it's time for another case to be heard by Judge Robbins. What have we got in store for him today? Well, This is Plaintiff Arthur. He's bringing the case against his flatmates. I'll just read from his victim statement. It's my last year of uni, and naturally time is precious and short, and yet I find myself wasting sweet, sweet tiempo rewashing everything my flatmates have already washed, but to a poor standard. I won't live in squalor, he says, with dirty rims on my mugs and mystery matter in my cereal bowl. I'll just furnish Judge Robbins with some details of the case. If you want details, they fill up the bowl with water, do a very small bit of submerged scrubbing, and then rack 0% rinsing. I repeat, 0% rinsing. I, meanwhile, use the hot dunk method, careful attention with soapy sponge/scourer, then a fully comprehensive rinse. Because that's what you do, right? Help me, Judge Robbins.
Order! Order! I will have order in my court! Hey! Silence! My court! I am distressed and disturbed to hear of such abuse of a washing up area. I, myself, have fond memories as a child of walking into the pantry semi-nude, nude, I say, to see Nanny rinsing and washing in the bowl, that enamel bowl that housed so many activities, where I myself was rinsed and washed nude, where bowls, plates, skillets and pans were washed and rinsed, where dog was washed and rinsed, where chicken was plucked and rinsed, but always in this hallowed bowl was rinsing taking place. I, nude, would wander round, freshly rinsed. The breeze... Order! The breeze drying me as nature intended, with God's wind on my hither and thithers. I rule in this case that to not rinse after dunking, or, may I add, prior to dunking, scraping excess scraps in the bin, is an absolute outrage. It goes against common decency and Britishness. So, I had once a flatmate in Bristol who would wash up badly, who would simply take a mashed potato pan and place straight in the water and leave potatoes in the drain cover sieve thing that went in the plug, and it was absolutely disgusting, and you would awake in the morning to find potato matter in the plug sieve drain protector.
So what should you do?
I rule for the defendant. Order! I'll have silence in my court. And I sentence his flatmates to a rinsing awareness course, to be held at a time of my choosing, in a place of my choosing, in a state of undress at my choosing. This court is now in session. Off session. It's finished.
John? Judge Robbins, I mean. So how should you approach mashed potato?
Well, step into my chamber.
Okay.
Approach the bench.
Okay.
Mashed potato is approached firstly by a vigorous scraping with the wooden spoon you've used to have in your hand, and placed in the bin using a teaspoon to then scrape off the wooden spoon.
Of course.
You then rinse in hot water, pre-filling the pre-soak. Right. I demand order in my chambers.
So
you pre-soak and then you rinse it out before filling the bowl with soapy suds.
The pan has been practically licked clean, hasn't it?
The pan has been pre-rinsed.
Okay, well, there'll be another Judge Robbins
Leave
case.
my chambers!
Okay, thanks. Put your trousers on. There'll be another Judge Robbins case next week. Now it's time for some music. This is Blown Rose by Blossoms. You're listening to Elis James and Judge Robbins on Radio X.
Elis James and John Robbins. Radio X.